Hey everyone, it is Decades Week this week at karate. So that means you can pick a decade and dress like you lived in that decade. So I'm wearing some tie-dye, some bright colors. So bring whatever you want to this decade week. Let's start with our student creed. Feet together, hands by your side. I'm a dedicated martial artist. Student creed begin. Hey-ya. I must develop myself in a positive manner and avoid anything that could reduce my mental growth or physical health. Number 2, I must develop self-discipline in order to bring out the best in myself and others. Number 3, I must use common sense before self-defense and never be abusive or offensive. Number 4, winners never quit. Quitters never win. I choose to be a winner. Number 5, this is a black belt school. We are dedicated. We are motivated. We are on a quest to be our best. Ready, set, courtesy. So this month's star word is kindness. Say that, say kindness. And kindness is when we show someone we care. We're nice, right? In this week specifically, we're talking about random acts of kindness. So these are acts that are more spontaneous, they're unplanned, and they just come from the heart in the moment. So I want you to think about, how does it feel if someone is kind to you? How does that make you feel? Makes you feel good, right? Most of the time. And it might inspire you to go be kind to someone else. And that often happens with random acts of kindness, is a chain reaction. You may have heard of times where someone will buy a person's coffee in the line. They'll pay for the person behind them, and that person pays for the person behind them, and it starts this chain reaction of kindness. So in general, whether you're buying someone's coffee or a different act of kindness, you're inspiring kindness within the community and making it a community that is a kinder and better place to live. So that's our talk about kindness this week. Keep that in mind, and when we come back for video B this week, I will have a kindness challenge for you, and it will also help you to fill out your star sheet if you haven't started doing that already. This month, you're gonna get your stripe, next week by the way, for power. Say that, say power. And we've been talking about, it's going to be a blue stripe for the power of the ocean. The ocean has a lot of strength. And if you've never been on the ocean, I encourage you to get in the ocean and feel how strong the waves are, safely with an adult nearby. But anyways, we've been talking about how there's 3 principles for power. The first week was rotation. Say that, say rotation. The second week was backup mass. Say that, say backup mass. And this week, week number 3, is through anchoring. Say anchoring. And an anchor is something that boats use in the ocean and other bodies of water. It's this big metal thing. It kind of starts up here and goes down like a J on both sides. Sometimes it has a cross in the middle. But it's this big, heavy weight. And they throw it over the boat so that the boat doesn't float too far away from the location that they're at. So we're going to take that principle of thinking of sticking to the ground, sticking in our location when we're talking about getting power through anchoring. So we're going to do some anchoring drills. The first thing I want you to do is get in a guard stance. All right, so this is our guard stance, right? Our knees are bent, our back is flat, our belly button is pointed towards the right. Now, what I want you to do is rotate from a guard stance to a front stance. So what that's going to require you to do is to move your hips towards the front, and you're going to come up on your heel on the back foot to rotate it forward. So you come up, you go on your heel for a second so your toes come up, and you turn your foot. It goes back on the ground though, and then your front knee is bent and your back leg is straight. So I'm going to do this from a side angle so you can see this again. So I'm in my guard stance. I'm gonna take my back foot. I'm gonna come up on my heel, so my toes are up off the ground. I'm gonna rotate it, drop it back down, and then bend that front leg and keeping the back leg straight. So that's our rotation there. And I know we're not working on rotation necessarily this week, but that part's important for us to be able to anchor, because we're gonna anchor while we throw a punch. So we start in our guard stance, belly button is towards the right. We're gonna twist and punch, and we're gonna make sure that that back foot rotated, just like I showed you, and stays on the floor. So our front leg is bent, back leg is straight, we're in a front stance, and we're throwing a punch, just like one of the moves in our form. And we're making sure we're anchored to the ground by making sure that back leg stays on the ground. That whole foot is on the ground. So that is anchoring with our punch. So if you haven't been doing it along with me, let's do it together. I'm gonna do it facing sideways so you can see my foot. Guard stance, ready, and punch. Rotate that back foot, bend that front knee into a front stance, and punch. All right, now we're gonna do it again together, because I'm gonna face this way again. I'm just gonna say go. Guard stance, go. Ay-ya! Good, and you can begin to see how all of our power principles are coming together now. We needed rotation to be able to rotate our back foot to anchor it to the ground. And also, this is an opportunity we can lean into our punch and still have our backup mass. So now we have all three principles working together so that we have an awesome, powerful punch. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Guard stance, ay-ya! Ready? So again, that back foot, you come up on your heel, turn your toes, move your hips, and throw that punch. Every time I say go, ready? Go, ay-ya! And back. Go, ay-ya! And back. Go, ay-ya! And back. So when you're doing your form, and we'll revisit this when we are doing our form at some point, whenever you have a stance, your feet should be on the floor, unless otherwise indicated to you. That's how you anchor yourself to the ground. So we talked about a punch. Now we're going to talk about anchoring with our kick. We're going to do let's do a roundhouse kick. So we've been working on roundhouse kick a lot this month. We're going to go over foundations real quick, and then I'm going to add that anchoring specific in there. So follow along with me. We know when we do a roundhouse kick with our back leg, we have to turn our front toes, and we bring up our chamber, because our kick has 4 parts: chamber, kick, re-chamber, down. We bring up our chamber, it's flat, we kick with the shoelace part of our foot. When we bring up our chamber, our back toes keep rotating so they're facing the back. All right, so every time I say go, you're gonna throw a roundhouse kick. Ready? Go. Yeah. And back. Go. Yeah. And back. One more time. Go. Yeah. And stay right there, because we're gonna do the same thing on this side. Ready? Go. Yeah. And back. Go. Yeah. And back. The last time. Go. Yeah. And back. So now the challenge is that back foot that you turn your toes first and then they keep rotating to the back, that foot needs to stay planted. It needs to stay grounded on the ground. Sometimes what I see, and I'm going to do this sideways so you can see, sometimes what I see when people turn their toes, they go to kick, they come up on their heel like this. All right? And that is not correct. That's going to keep you off balance. You can see that I started to fall over. What you want to do is turn your toes, keep it flat to the ground when you kick, and then land. I was wobbly that time, but as you saw, I was able to catch my balance a lot quicker. So when you're doing those roundhouse kicks, you want to keep your foot planted. It's the same thing for all kicks, just like I mentioned with the punch and the stances. When you go to throw a front kick, a lot of times I see this. I see people coming up on their heel, that back heel. That is not right. You're not grounded. You're not anchored to the ground. You want to keep your back foot on the ground. It's gonna help you with your power. It's gonna help you with your balance. So you wanna stay anchored. So that is how we bring the power principle of anchoring into our martial arts. All right, so your drill now for anchoring, and you might need to pause the video. You're gonna ask your adults if they can help you. When you ask your adult to help you, tell them to bring a soft object that you can hit. All right, so I'm gonna grab that soft object. If you wanna pause the video, you can. So the soft object I have this week is this pillow. All right, so adults, if you're helping your student out, hold the object out to the side of you like this. Make sure there's nothing behind it that your student could hit and hurt themselves or damage that object. All right, you have a lot of space you're holding it out like this. Students, what you're gonna do is either that punch we worked on with the anchoring, so you're gonna do a reverse punch from a guard stance to a front stance, or you're gonna do a back leg roundhouse kick. So adults, you're gonna hold like this for the punch, and your student would be in front here. If they're doing a roundhouse kick, you can either turn it like this so the student can kick, or students, you need to move so that when you roundhouse kick, you're coming around this way. So they would be there facing you to kick with their back leg, or here facing the pillow to hit with the punch. So adults, you can shout out, kick or punch, and then the student would move where they need to go and either do the punch with the anchoring or their kick with the anchoring. So that's our drill. Get excited, get ready, and get after it.
Sweet love, yeah. I didn't mean it when I said I didn't love you so. I should've held on tight, I never should've let you go. I didn't know nothing, I was stupid, I was foolish, I was lying to myself. Ooh. Never imagined I would ever be without your love. I couldn't have fathomed I'd be sitting here beside myself. Cause I didn't know you and I didn't know me, but I thought I knew everything. I never felt the feeling that I'm feeling now that I don't hear your voice. I have you touch against your lips cause I don't have a choice. Oh, what I wouldn't give to have you lying by my side right here. Cause baby, when you left I lost a part of me. It's still so hard to believe. Come back baby please, cause we belong together. Who else am I gonna lean on when times get rough? Who's gonna talk to me on the phone till the sun comes up? Who's gonna take your place? There ain't nobody better. Oh baby, baby, we belong together. Can't sleep at night when you are on my mind. Bobby Womack's on the radio saying to me, if you think you're lonely now, wait a minute, this is too deep. I gotta change the station, so I turn it down, trying to catch a break, and then I hear baby face. I only think of you, and it's breaking my heart. I'm trying to keep it together, but I'm falling apart. I'm feeling all out of my element, throwing things, trying to figure out where the hell I went wrong. The pain reflected in the song ain't even half of what I'm feeling inside. I need you back in my life, baby. When you left, I lost a part of me. It's still so hard to believe. Come back, baby, please, cause we belong together. Who else am I gonna lean on when times get rough? Who's gonna talk to me on the phone till the sun comes up? Who's gonna take your place? There ain't nobody better. Oh baby, baby, we belong together, baby. When you left, I lost a part of me. It's still so hard to believe. Come back, baby, please, cause we belong together.
So it is time for self-defense. We're gonna review the self-defense, and then we're gonna take that principle of anchoring our bodies into the self-defense and really focus on that, and you'll have some time to practice, all right? So our self-defense is hidden sword. Say that, say hidden sword. I'm gonna do it from the side so it's easier to see because someone's behind me and they have their arms around me like this, they're choking me. So let's do this together. I'll break it down the first time and then we'll go a little faster. Hands up. I don't want any trouble. First thing we're going to do is take a baby step forward with that right leg, and we're going to hide our sword up near our right arm, our right ear. It's our left arm by our right ear. Move number 1 is we're going to turn, we're going to strike and move the arms out of the way. Move number 2 is we're going to throw a punch. Move number 3, we kick, and then we cover out. Whenever we cover out, we take our leg that's closest in front. We step in front of our back foot. We bring that back foot out, and then we keep our eyes on the target and we step around. So in order to do that, I'm going to take my front leg, move it towards my back to keep my eyes on the target and to get in a guard stance. All right, so this time I'm just going to say go. Let's do all of that together. Hands up. I don't want any trouble. Go. Baby step, hide the sword, turn and strike, punch, kick, cover out. 1 step, 2 step. Yeah. And when you do your cover out, it's okay to take really big steps. That's actually preferred because you want to get away from the opponent. I'm taking a bit smaller steps so that I stay on camera and you can see me. All right, now that we've done that, let's go through again a little slower and talk about the areas where I want you to focus on anchoring. So hands up. I don't want any trouble. So the first thing we're going to do is take that baby step, put that sword in. This is really a setup move, so yes, your feet are on the ground, but not too much anchoring here. The next move, when we turn and strike, you take a little step to turn and strike, but when you're striking, it's similar to what we went over with that punch, that you come up on your heels, but when you go to have that moment of impact, your feet should be back on the ground. And they should stay on the ground when you do that punch. So you're nice and grounded, you have really awesome stances. Even though this isn't a form, stances are there for a reason. They help us have more power. So you're going from your feet are wide apart into a front stance for that strike, those first 2 strikes, the knife hand and the punch. Then when we do our front kick, so my right leg's gonna kick. I'm gonna move back for a second actually so you could see better. My back leg's gonna kick. That means the leg that's not kicking, my left leg, needs to stay on the ground. So when you go to do the kick, you're staying anchored. All right, that was anchored. This is not anchored. You can see my heels up. You want to keep that foot on the ground. All right, and then when we do our cover out, we're taking big steps. So yes, we're bringing our foot off the ground, but that's why it's important to step in front. So you're in almost a cross stance, like from our form. Then stepping back out and around, and each time you want to settle into that stance. All right, so those are some areas where we're grounding in our self-defense. Let's go over it one more time together, and then you'll have time to practice on your own. Hands up. I don't want any trouble. Ready? Add those grounding pieces in. We'll go in slow motion. Go. Baby step, hidden sword, turn and strike, punch, kick, and cover up. 1 step, 2 step, yeah. And time. So now you're gonna have about 2.5 minutes. I want you to practice the self-defense over and over again, and really, again, focus on anchoring your feet with the stances in your self-defense.
Those days of warm rains come rushing back to me. Miles of windless summer nights, secret moments shared in the heat of the afternoon.
So for Action Karate Form 3, week 1 we did part B, the first part. Week 2 we did part B, the second part. So now we're going to combine both and do the full part B. All right, so feet together, hands by your side. Action Karate Form 3, part B. And remember, part B starts with our cup and saucer. So we're going to take our belly button, point it to the right, feet stay together, and we put our cup and saucer on our back hip. As a quick reminder, what a cup and saucer looks like is, saucer is a little plate that you put a teacup on, and the cup is the cup. So the bottom hand's our saucer, our wrist faces the ceiling, and goes on our back hip. So that's our right hand. Our left hand is the cup, our wrist faces the floor, it's gonna go on top of the saucer, so it looks like this. Right hand on bottom, wrist up, left hand on top, wrist down, put it on your back hip. This is a hidden technique because as you can see, you can't see what my hands look like. So that's where we start for Action Karate Form 3, part B. Move number 1, you're gonna take your left leg, you're gonna step out into a guard stance, and you're gonna throw a back fist with that hand that was on top, which is your left hand. Then you're gonna take your right foot, your back foot, you're gonna step forward, and you're gonna punch. So that was part A of part B. Now this is part B of part B that we just worked on last week. Your left leg comes up to step behind. Your right leg does not move when you do that. Your right hand comes on top of an X, and then you're gonna do a descending back fist down. Then you're gonna unspin, so you're not gonna move your feet, you're just gonna untwist them, settle into a stance, throw a back fist with that left hand. And then like that move we worked on in the beginning of class, you're gonna rotate and punch. And then we end with a back leg roundhouse kick, so hold on, I'm gonna scoot back so you can see. We turn our front toes, our back leg, which is our right leg, comes up, does a roundhouse kick, land in a nice low stance. And set, victory, humility, courtesy, ma'am. We're gonna do that one more time, just by the count. Since I just broke it down, we're leveling up to do it by the count. And then you'll have some time to practice on your own. All right, feet together, hands by your side. I'm gonna back up a little more actually. Action Karate Form 3, part B. Cup and saucer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and set, victory, humility, courtesy, man. So now you're gonna see me come on the screen. You can follow along. I want you to practice that part of your form. That whole section is what you'll be testing on next week. So make sure you practice that, get the details down, know all the moves that are within that. And if you do have questions that come up, make sure you ask a sensei. You can either ask in person, message, email the Mac Beats COVID, definitely doesn't eat COVID, email, or have your adult put a comment under the video. All right, so get to practicing.
To get to anywhere, maybe we'll make a deal. Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll make something. Me, myself, I got nothing to prove. You got a fast car, I got a plan to get us out of here. I've been working at the convenience store. Managed to save just a little bit of money. Won't have to drive too far. Just cross the border and into the city. You and I can both get jobs to finally see what it means to be living. You got a fast car, so fast enough so we can fly away. We're gonna make a decision. Live tonight and die this way. So I remember we were driving your car. Speed so fast, felt like I was drunk. City lights stay up. for the bottle, that's the way it is. Said his body's too old for working. His body's too young to look like his. Mama went off and left him. She wanted more from life than he could give. I said somebody's got to take care of him. So I quit school, that's what I did. You got a fast car. We go cruising, entertain ourselves. You still ain't got a job. Not working the market as a checkout girl. And all things will get better. You'll find work and I'll get promoted. We'll move out of the shelter. Buy a bigger house and live in the suburbs. You got a fast car. See fast enough so you can fly away. You gotta make a decision. Leave tonight or let me die this way. So I remember we were driving your car. The speed so fast, felt like I was drunk. City lights lay out before us, and the all felt nights wrapped around my shoulder. And I had a feeling that I belonged. I had a feeling that I could be someone.
Let's end class with our principles of being a black belt. So feet together, hands by your side. I'm a dedicated student of the martial arts. And I live by the principles of being a black belt. And they are integrity, concentration, perseverance, respect and obedience, self-control, humility, indomitable spirit, knowledge, power, black belt, courtesy. Give yourself a hand. Excellent job today.